Alright guys, BLM here, back with a new video. In this video I'll be talking about my thoughts on the new leaks for the next Assassin's Creed game, which seems to be codenamed Kingdom. So around the time that these leaks came out, I released a video on my thoughts on the future of Assassin's Creed, which there will be a link down below if you want to watch that, but it's kind of funny now because it's outdated and became so before I was able to get it out. So I'm kind of going to rectify that by making this video, which is essentially an updated version of that video. So this new leak has come out from Jason Schreier, who's accurately leaked every Assassin's Creed game since Black Flag. And when he says something about Assassin's Creed, it ends up being true. So when he revealed that the 2020 Assassin's Creed game will be Vikings, despite all of the recent rumors that said the 2020 game was going to be an ancient Rome game developed by Ubisoft Sofia, I gotta say, I was really mind blown. And I really believed these ancient Rome rumors, as you could tell from my previous video, because they just made perfect sense for Ubisoft. They'd be able to finish off the ancient trilogy with a Rome game, especially after the original Origins leak stated that a trilogy was talked about, and for that to not come to fruition is a bit strange to me. So now, spoiler alert for the Origin and Odyssey DLCs, in the hidden ones, Bayek and I have a conversation about Bayek visiting her in Rome, which always seemed to me to either be foreshadowing to a Bayek sequel, which obviously didn't happen, or at least a future game in Rome. And then in Legacy of the First Blade, there's the very blatant retcon of Aya being a descendant of Cassandra. Like, why was this a thing? I don't get why this was even a thing at this point. If there's not going to be a sequel, why did they even do this? Like, I really don't get it. It makes no sense from a narrative perspective. So you would think that the only reason that would be in the game is so they could set up the next Rome game and have an excuse for still using Cassandra's demigod powers. But no, like, nothing came out of this. Like, they really did something so terrible for, like, no reason. But getting away from that, I do still think there is a chance for an ancient Rome game. Again, this game could be like AC Rogue. Now, if you don't know, AC Rogue was developed within a year by Ubisoft Sofia and released the year after Black Flag. And because of that, Schreier didn't have information on Rogue at the time that he leaked Unity. So I do think there's still a chance of two games coming out in 2020. One Ancient Rome game for the current gen, and then Kingdom for the next gen. Though there have been reports that Kingdom might be a cross-gen release. So I do think that's a big possibility. I think another possibility is the fact that maybe it's a DLC. Maybe this Ancient Rome rumor is a DLC. That's also a possibility, especially because they're taking a year off from Assassin's Creed. So it is a possibility that maybe Ubisoft Sofia, again, who developed Curse of the Pharaohs, the bigger DLC for AC Origins, I do think it could be a possibility that maybe they're working on a pretty big DLC for Odyssey. Do I think it's likely? Probably not, though. I think at this point, the most likely thing that happened is the fact that this game was either canceled, or this game could have just never existed, and people were just using the Origins leak to create their own rumors afterwards. I do think this would have been my preferred course for Assassin's Creed, though, having a 2020 game being cross-gen, ancient Rome game that finishes off the ancient trilogy, giving Ashraf's team an extra year for them to work on Kingdom, which would be released in 2021. But instead, there's ending this ancient era really early and making these games feel pointless, kind of like what they did with Unity and Syndicate. Now it's time to talk about Kingdom. Like I said, I was mind blown when Schreier said that Vikings was the next game for 2020. I mean, I was so confident. I was so confident it was going to be Ancient Rome 2020, Vikings 2021. And again, I was right about Vikings. It's just that it was coming out a year earlier than I thought. Now again, I thought this Viking game would be 2021, developed by Montreal 3, which is Ashraf Ismail's team, who previously developed Black Flag and Origins, and that this would be a next-gen only game. But this 2020 release date really changes everything. Obviously, this will still be the start to a new era of Assassin's Creed, and I still believe that this will be developed by Montreal 3. Now, since their last game was Origins, and that came out in 2017, and they started development of this game right afterwards, by the 2020 release date, Kingdom would be in development for 3 years instead of the 4 that I originally thought it would be. And also, this being a 2020 release, it's either going to be a cross-gen game or there's going to be 2 games. There's no way they're letting go of the market from the older consoles that quickly. But if this game is a cross-gen game, I do also think it really limits the potential of the game, as they're probably not going to be able to do every little thing that they could do if it was a next-gen exclusive. And something else that's really upsetting to me is the fact that this means that Ubisoft Quebec is probably going to get the first next-gen exclusive. I mean, but like, Quebec? Like, really? We're really gonna give this team first next-gen game? This team that can't even stick to a franchise they've been working on for 7 years now? and tries to discredit any sort of criticism that anyone gives them. I can go on and on about Ubisoft Quebec, but the thing is that more than likely they are working on the next Assassin's Creed game. Again, there was an interview recently that did say there are 2 development teams on Assassin's Creed. Again, I thought there was going to be 3 because I thought they were adding in Sofia, but either way. But it does look like Montreal 3 and Quebec are the 2 teams that are going to stay on Assassin's Creed, and I just don't get why. It's very clear that Ubisoft doesn't understand Assassin's Creed and doesn't want to understand Assassin's Creed. But it just seems like Ubisoft keeps on forcing them to make AC content when they really don't care about the franchise. I really don't get what their thought process is there. Ubisoft Quebec has developed Tyranny of King Washington, Syndicate, and Odyssey. Tyranny of King Washington, which has a whole bunch of stupid superpowers. Syndicate, which is like pretty much just a parody of Assassin's Creed, and it also has freaking rope launchers. And Odyssey, which completely disregards everything in the lore to make it the most cookie cutter experience I think I've ever had. I know I'm coming off very negative in this video, but I am actually excited for Kingdom. Again, at the end of the day, it is a game by Ashraf's team who are really talented and have passion for the games that they make. Again, this was made very clear in games like Black Flag and Origins, and I'm sure they will make a great game. I'm just worried it might not live up to its potential, especially the potential that it could have had if it was given another year. But yeah, Vikings is a great setting. I think that's really the best setting left on the board. And I think Ashraf's team is the perfect team to work on it, as a Viking setting would need naval gameplay, which obviously they exceeded with in Black Flag, and it also needs some pretty heavy melee combat, which is something they exceeded with in Origins. I do also think they'll probably take inspiration from games like God of War and For Honor, probably reusing assets from For Honor, considering that's a Ubisoft game as well. I do wonder though how much of this game will be reused assets. Obviously this will be the first game in this new era of Assassin's Creed, which usually leads to a lot of new assets so that they can reuse these assets in the next few games, keeping the games in similar settings. But with this game having only 3 years, and with games becoming much bigger nowadays, I don't know if that's enough time to build as many assets as they would normally make. Now looking back on the history of Assassin's Creed and with these other games that started these new eras, we do have AC3, which was developed in 3 years, which was built on a completely new engine and used pretty much all new assets, something that I think this game will probably need as well. But then in more recent history, the 2 other games that have led eras, being AC Unity and AC Origins, both took 4 years to develop. And even after 4 years, Unity was still the clusterfuck it was. I think that was more from production issues and also interference from Ubisoft, and I do feel like Ubisoft has learned their lesson since then. But even Origins, when it was shown at E3 after around, 3.5 years of development, it was still looking a bit janky, and they still needed to polish it off over the next 6 months, which thankfully they did. But I do think that's a kind of a worrying sign for this game that has only gotten 3 years of development. But at the end of the day, though, I do have a lot of confidence in Ashraf's team. I do think there's pretty much no way that they will completely fuck it up. Also, I do hope that they get rid of the dialogue options and multiple protagonists that Odyssey implemented. While I do think Quebec is 100% going to be doing that in the future, I really do hope Montreal doesn't. Who knows though, again, they probably will. And again, I do hope we get a really good writer here as well. There was a picture recently of Ashraf Ismail and Darby McDevitt hanging out, along with Abu Bakr Salim, I believe. So I really hope the writer's Darby. Please give us Darby. Now, if you don't know who Darby McDevitt is, he is probably the most passionate and knowledgeable writer for Assassin's Creed that still works at Ubisoft. He has written things like Assassin's Creed Bloodlines and Embers, but more importantly, he has written Revelations and Black Flag. And he was also the initial writer of Origins and was the creator of Bayek's character. Though he did eventually leave due to some creative differences. But please, come back. Please. I mean, especially after the shit show that Odyssey was. Like, can we just get anyone that actually knows the franchise, please? So, for the future after that, after Kingdom, I do think my opinions still stay the same. I said this in the previous video. I do think the next game will be, obviously, by Ubisoft Quebec. Probably be a King Arthur game, I'm thinking. If not, just some other time period within the Middle Ages. Obviously, that's what they're going for here. They're not going to completely change things up to go to like a Japan game or a China game or anything. It makes no sense. So obviously, they're going to stick within Middle Ages and go for something like, I'm thinking King Arthur. That's kind of what I would like, but who knows what they will actually do. So there we go. I guess those are my updated thoughts on the future of Assassin's Creed. Again, I'm excited for a Viking game. I just wish they were going to finish the Ancient Trilogy, which would have given Kingdom an extra year of development, but it is what it is. So yeah, that's the video. Thank you for watching.